recording was recently, of course, Scott Dinsmore of Live Your Legend passed away. Most of us know that. Some folks that aren't really as familiar with the tribe and stuff like that, just to let them know kind of what inspired this. There's a Facebook group that was dedicated to as a tribute and stuff, and a lot of folks have expressed a lot of different things of how much his message has meant to them and to their work and stuff. And really, Stephanie and I saw the need that there's a real timing thing that there's a renewed sense of purpose, and so we really felt that this was the time that we had to kind of get together as a tribe, because I'll admit it that personally I've kind of let some things go with being part of the tribe, just because most of us were get more focused on our own work and stuff. So the thing is, though, different times we lose track of the fact that we need to, and in fact we are stronger together. We definitely can support each other more by letting each other know what's going on and how we're really doing our own best to live our legend and stuff, and just basically to share what it is that we're doing. I think that's really the two main things is to let other people know what we're doing, but also that we are united in that we're each on our own way, looking to kind of carry on the work, because that little bit that we're doing for whatever it is our legend and stuff, and doing that is the best way to share the message that's meant so much through all of us. So that's the essence of why we're here, and yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else I can do to kind of hopefully. Oh, there you are. Awesome, Stephanie. Thank you. Yeah. So looks like Stephanie's just kind of logging on now. And hey, how are you doing, Stephanie?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great, actually. So you can hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I was just basically sharing about, why we're here, what's kind of really, kind of prompted us to kind of start this and stuff. Maybe you can share a little bit about your own, what, kind of inspired you to kind of, bring us together for this, and, what from your perspective we're looking to do and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. This is my first official blab to participate in. So I just wanted first to say I'm sorry for the delay. I thought it would work on my Mac, and then I found out that John, I did have to install Chrome even on my Mac to get in. So little last minute technical difficulty. But anyway.
Yeah, that's great though.
Yeah. But so here now, and we're figuring it all out together, all this technology stuff. I've been a follower of Scott's ever since he had his original blog of Read for Your Passion, so over 5 years that I followed him, and I got involved with Live Your Legend, and I had the chance to go to the World Domination Summit back in 2013 for the first time, and many of the people on the session with us today may know that that's Chris Guillebeau's project that he organizes just to bring a lot of like-minded, kindred spirit people together. But it was at that 2013 World Domination Summit was where I got to meet Scott for the first time. He organized together with Corbett Barr from Fizzle. They organized a meetup together, where everybody could get together before World Domination Summit actually started. And he, so that's when I first really got to meet him in person. And then after that, I volunteered to be the first host for the Atlanta Live Your Legend group. And, but just a little bit about me is that for many years, really since I was in my late teens, early 20s, I've always been passionate about helping other people to figure out what their strengths are and, really how to shine their light and passion in the world. I think of myself as a lighthouse, sort of a beacon of light for people in the world, and to really help people see how we can all be a positive influence. So kind of my mission is to be a positive influence on the lives of others, and to help other people get in touch with their joy and how they can then shine their light in the world as well. Much like how Scott would say, but that the idea of if we all are shining our light in the world, that'll create more joy, more peace, more balance, and all of those things in the world. And so I just started my own business this past February as a life and career coach. And I've gone back to school to study health coaching as well, because it's important to me to make this holistic combination of, I think we can't really have career happiness if we're not feeling healthy, and then so all this wellness comes together. And but so that's what I've been working on these past 6 months, is my own health, so I can walk my talk, and just building friendships and creating new relationships with people. So that's a little bit about me. And as John was saying, we just wanted to offer this blab session where we could just come together and as a way to continue to motivate each other and to continue building our community, but just using this as a jumping off point for us to stay connected, for us to share ideas. We can have up to 4 cameras here at one time, and we want to invite whichever one of you want to come and turn on your camera and just share with the group, a little bit about what you're passionate about, or if there's anything where you'd like support from the community, how any one of us can help you with what you're trying to do, and just use this as a way to continue the conversation. So it looks like Kevin.
Yeah, and I think that's
is turning on his camera.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Yeah, welcome, Kevin.
Hello.
Hi, Kevin.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut you off. Were you going to say something there?
No, I was just going to just basically, kind of echo what Stephanie was saying, is that we definitely would love to kind of hear from, the other folks on the tribe, like kind of what kind of things they have going on, and really, like, for me personally, it's like kind of the big question is, where do we go from here, with the kind of what the loss of Scott and stuff, how do we continue the things that he started?
Yeah, I guess I'll chime in a little bit. I've been following Live Your Legend for about 3 years, and for myself, I'm the Live Your Legend local host here in Calgary, Canada. So had a small group, 3 or 4 people usually most months, but I actually relaunched a few weeks ago and had 16 people show up. So that was pretty exciting. And I also went to the World Domination Summit this past summer and, experienced that power of community. And I really think that that's what this has started. And definitely we need to carry it on. So I think tools like this are great for maybe people who are in smaller cities or are in a place where there isn't a local meetup group to go to, or, if someone needs a little pick-me-up on a Thursday afternoon, or I guess it's Wednesday afternoon, can come on here and talk to like-minded people. So these tools that we have are great to use, I think. Yeah, exactly, like North Dakota.
Right. And like Kauai, Hawaii, which I forgot to say is where I am, which is beautiful, but I certainly miss my tribe from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. So this is great to connect virtually.
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm a little bit more remote and right now, and where Los Angeles is about 40 minutes, to the west and stuff, and that's where most of the tribe is and everything. So I can't often, catch things there all the time. And so for me personally, like work-wise and stuff, I've gone a lot more online, and so definitely this is a great way for me to kind of engage and to kind of connect with others of the tribe. Kevin, I'm sorry, I missed like kind of what you like work-wise you said you were doing.
Yeah, sorry, I may have not said much there, but I actually left my corporate job 3 weeks ago now. And so I'm just in the process of starting up a coaching business focused on helping people with habit and lifestyle changes, amongst a number of other projects, like trying to build the Live Your Legend community here in Calgary as well.
Right. So like in terms of connecting with folks, what do you feel like kind of is, like kind of that other folks can really support you with, or like kind of what kind of things that like basically, stay in touch with the tribe will kind of help you to do and stuff?
I think to do that, Facebook is pretty useful. groups on Facebook, especially if you can get in really active groups. There's a number of people I met at the Live Your Legend meetup at the World Domination Summit, and there's kind of a group that we're part of, and we have accountability calls using Skype, and that really helps. Also, for the local level, like I use meetup.com to organize my meetups now, and that helps really get the word out, because a lot of people will go on Meetup to try and find groups to go spend time with that have interests that are aligned with what they're looking for. And so I found Meetup to be quite helpful in building that up. And then, Blab, for the online community, as Blab becomes more popular, someone could just stumble into here and be like, oh, Live Your Legend, that sounds interesting. I'm going to go see what it's all about, right? And then all of a sudden you've got new people in the tribe. So yeah, just trying to engage on different platforms.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for me, that's what I consider a side benefit of using Blab versus other platforms, is that very fact that like people tend to kind of go, oh, what's that about and stuff. And I feel like that's one way that, the message can spread that's like kind of more organic compared to like kind of, just simply, blasting it out and stuff like that. I think it's like a way that like people, if they see, what kind of, what the tribe is like and how, like kind of not only is the message what it's about, but also like how it's influenced each of us. Yep. I think once they see that, then that's like kind of like, wow, like kind of they'll want to learn more. And that's I feel like the best thing we can do to kind of help spread the message.
Yep.
So how about like in terms of what kind of other ways that like we can, basically, engage other people though, like kind of, the other members of the tribe and like kind of, like you said, there's meetups, there's Facebook and stuff like that. I don't know, like what other ways that like kind of, is there that maybe we can help to kind of,
I mean, something I think, especially when you're talking about maybe people who are in more remote areas who don't have those local groups, if you can start to form like the mastermind type groups where you have like a weekly call and you show up, you talk about what you're working on, what your challenges are, where you need help, and share ideas amongst yourselves, and then take accountability actions at the end of them and say, okay, I'm going to do this by next week. It really helps, at least for me, that's helped up my game and in terms of getting things done, because I know I have that group to go back to a week later. So, having larger blabs like this to introduce people to the tribe and whatnot is great, but I think you do need some more focused, maybe smaller type groups as well. I don't know, Stephanie, if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I hear myself echoing a little bit. But I think definitely that having gone from a situation when I used to live in Atlanta, Georgia, and so we had, the opportunity for local meetups there. And now that I'm in a situation where I'm looking for virtual connection, I do agree, Kevin, that I think the balance of having a broader, bigger audience like this, where a lot of people can come together, but then there's so much benefit to being able to share in a smaller, more intimate group. And coming together, like forming an agreement. I think at the beginning, I've been wanting to organize a mastermind group for a long time. And I just, I'll meet different people and we'll kind of talk about the idea, but then we never formalize anything. And actually, I'm not sure if Lavinia is on the line with us here live, but I know she had subscribed to participate today.
There she is.
Oh, there she is. Okay. Whoop. There we go. Yeah. So Lavinia and I have been talking. We met when we did the tribute. You know how we had the tribute video for Scott where we all watched the TED Talk together, and there were a couple of sessions that were organized. And so Lavinia and I were on the same chat session or the same meetup to watch the TED Talk. And so then she and I just connected via Facebook private message. And, so we've been talking virtually, just, over Facebook so far about the idea of formulating a mastermind group together. Yeah. And of course, looking for other like-minded people. Like we said that we were going to wait to talk to each other until after this Blab session so that we could see who else was on the Blab and who might be also looking for a mastermind. Because I know some people already have a mastermind group, and that can get too much if you're trying to do too many things at the same time.
Yeah.
So, so Lavinia, I see you're here and you're on camera. Do you want to introduce yourself and share a little bit too with the group?
Yeah. My name is Lavinia, and yes, I've been interested in a mastermind group for quite a while. I think having that small accountability and that intimacy is really important. I'm kind of nomadic, so that's why I'm looking for that. I've been following Scott, or I was following Scott for 2 years, since 2013, kind of on the periphery, staying on the periphery, because I kind of really hadn't crystallized anything in terms of what I wanted to do. But this past spring, it kind of really came together for me. I've been doing a lot of different, I don't know, just reading a lot and doing a lot of introspection. And I've just, I've narrowed down my focus to know that I just want to do creative coaching. I love creatives. I am creative. I have a special place in my heart for creative people. I think they have a tough road. And so that's where my heart is. So I'm actually going to be taking a creative coaching certification course with Eric Maisel and a couple of others. And so I have not done anything online yet because I'm a writer, I'm an author. So I've done websites a couple times in the past, and they kind of been fits and starts. And so this time I'm really trying to be very, very intentional, deliberate, and almost calculated about where I go next and how I put my online presence out there. So I have not done anything yet because I want to be careful. Yeah, but that's it. I think a mastermind will work perfect for me because I have, in the last 3 years, been in China, been in Mexico, been in New York, been in North Carolina, DC, and I'm planning on going to Colombia next month.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's no way I can go overbook because I'm constantly going to be on the move. So that's me.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, the biggest reasons why, for me personally, why the online tools are really essential is when you're that mobile and stuff, and especially in today's world, it's a necessity. It's not just even kind of a nice to do anymore. It's just basically the only way that you can really, have that kind of, continuity, so you can keep in touch, you can kind of, keep things going and stuff. So yeah, that's the thing. That's actually been my model recently, is I formed, these online masterminds. And so it's all about doing these online. And then when you are able to kind of intersect physically and stuff, that's great. That's gravy. But meanwhile, kind of keep things going. Don't lose your momentum simply because it's harder, to physically meet and stuff. And so that's been my thing and stuff, that to kind of have that. So that's awesome, actually. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I think the question there is then, okay, so we have, these online tools as well and stuff like that. So what kinds of things really help with that accountability? What kind of things help us to crystallize what it is that we're doing then? I guess that's a question I have for me personally too, is because I feel like now I'm just starting to kind of get some sense of the audience that I've been wanting to kind of connect with and stuff, which coincidentally are creative entrepreneurs. And, that's the thing that I've been struggling with, is how do I, get to something that's more than simply ideas and simply me kind of having putting the work out there and stuff like that. But how does it become more of a conversation that engages them and stuff? That's probably a question that I have as where I'm trying to do my part of living my legend and stuff like that, is kind of having more of that connection and stuff with my audience.
Yeah. I think that, part of it is allowing people to let you know what they need. I think Scott was really great at that. So I kind of watched him do that, because sometimes we will say, oh, I have this really cool skill, or I really love doing this, but we don't really kind of stop to find out what people need and where they hurt. And I think, that allows, sometimes that's going to mean some failure. Some things are going to flop. Sometimes we're afraid to do that. But I think sometimes, just kind of opening up and allowing people to kind of let you know what they need and guide you to the way to kind of allow your strengths and what you're passionate about to intersect what it is they need and where they hurt, I think is, one of the things that we can all do as coaches, as entrepreneurs. But like I said, that involves a level of risk, a level of failure sometimes. And I think mastermind groups probably are really great at allowing us to kind of get the wherewithal to do that and kind of lick our wounds based on some of the results.
Yeah.
So I think they could be good for that.
Definitely, and hear from other people who've maybe made the same mistakes and might be able to share some advice and learnings that they've had, in their journeys as well, especially if they're in similar type of fields.
Yeah, I mean, generally the different things that I've gotten from folks is the same things that I actually, with the entrepreneurs I work with, the questions they have, which is basically that they try different things. They, like you said, they have to, somewhat stumble and stuff like that. But it's like you only know like after you've tried something. So like, you can have the best idea, the best execution even, which is of course, like kind of the other part about all this. And different times, unless you get that feedback and stuff, you just, it's all theory until then.
Yeah, and sometimes, like we may find ourselves working in a vacuum. So, I mean, I always love other perspective. As a writer, it's like I can think I have everything on the page. I can think I have it all fleshed out. And, you get fresh readers and they constantly will see something new. They will see something you haven't seen. It's like, so getting other perspectives is like crucial whenever you're trying to, kind of give birth to anything and put something out in the world. It's like invaluable. So, yeah, and being able to give feedback is a skill, and, getting it is a skill, and having both sides of that discourse and that relationship, I think, is important for both sides, for both, for people who are offering perspective and then for people who are receiving. So, yeah.
The other thing I find that's really valuable if you can get it is somebody who has a experience or a strength in an area that that can really help you what you're trying to do and stuff. So, I mean, for me personally, I'm really great at executing. I'm really great at finding the things I need to get done and doing them. The problem is different times is that I probably not as good about being selective about, so again, going back to the question of, figuring out what it is that, will best serve, my audience and stuff. And that's the thing. And then different times identifying what is an audience that really makes sense for my abilities. So that's the other thing that kind of, I different times run into is figuring that piece of the puzzle out, and I think that takes a different kind of, set of experiences, a different skill set, stuff like that. And I think the question then is how do you find, these other people that have these other areas that they're stronger in and stuff.
Okay, I'm just going to drop out here because it looks like somebody else wants to jump in and I don't want to hog all this air
yeah,
time.
me
So
too.
we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks for stopping by.
I don't know. How do we know when someone wants to get in?
Well, Kevin had just posted.
Chim's jumping.
Yeah, Kevin had just posted in the comments and asked if there's anybody else that would like to chime in. And so I'll just state that invitation too. If anybody who does want to speak up and share your camera, just post in the comment section and then we'll switch out. So.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi, Chin. Welcome.
Yeah, it's good to see you. John and I have been very good friends for quite a while, so it's nice to be on this platform. And he introduced me to this whole Live Your Legend. I just watched Scott's TED Talk last night after our call, John, and learned. I was pleased to see that I've been in the StrengthsFinder movement for about a year, about 14 months now. And that's been a very significant shift in my life, and just taking a look at my strengths and running with it. And I'm definitely here to support John and to really learn about the group and, what this, to learn more about this movement and kind of its place in my life, our lives.
Great. Well, I'd love to hear from you too. I know you posted a couple of comments in the chat section over here about, different technologies, and you were asking about, accountability tools and stuff. And so I'd love to hear about your experience with that so far, and also a little bit about what's what's your current passion or project that you're working on?
Okay, I feel like talking about accountability platforms, my passion will come out quite naturally. So, this is interesting because I just hosted a blab 1 or 2 days ago with the first time bladder, and by the end of the conversation, you could tell what the excitement was between the person who was on the blab and the audience was tracking our promises. That we can blab away all we want, but if nobody's holding us accountable to some of the things that we say we're going to do, then it's just not going to go anywhere. And so my experience is that there used to be this platform called Numi. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it.
No.
Based out of I think up in Vancouver, Canada, and they were building this thing. It was phenomenal. They had the wheel of life, and you can connect like actions to different parts of your wheel. And then it understood someone in your life could be a coach, in one or more different areas on the wheel. Wow. And it totally tracked it and in a very social media kind of way. And it disappeared one day, and I'm just like, what are you doing? This is the best thing to slice bread. And he's like, they got no traction around accountability, and they ended up boiling it down. If you go to the website today, it's just a coach's directory, and that's all it is. And how could you lobotomize something so great? And I didn't pursue it too much, but I gave him my feedback. And now that I'm on Blab and finding out how amazing these developers are, and they're just kind of winging it and just kind of building stuff. I don't know if you guys were in a town hall yesterday or 2 days ago, but just meeting this team for the first time and seeing who's behind Blab and how spontaneous they are. They're funny guys. They're not the kind of characters that I expected them to be, and they have a commitment to the kind of content that they're kind of being the content that they want us to be. So we should get some props like bells and things like that. So that's what they were doing. So in terms of I definitely care about accountability, as you can tell, and I think it's really great that you guys have brought it up. And I care about the direction that, I don't know if it's Blab, I don't know if it's another platform that will embrace accountability in a way where we can track each other's actions, between meetings or between Blabs. Whether we can get that voice onto the developers, that would be awesome. And in terms of just what I'm passionate about, which is very in tune with Live Your Legend, is I'm passionate about weaving our legacies together. And so I care about everybody in our community here who's discovering their legend. What does it mean for each of our legends to kind of come together and just have this kind of massive, mega legend that we can't discover until we're in conversation about it, living our own legends. So that's what I care about.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I think I'm echoing again. But especially, when we talk about tools, there's a guy I know that I used to work with that I am now part of a nonprofit with him, but his name is Chris Hewer, and he and his team have designed a tool called Will Someone, will you help me? So it's called Will Someone, and I think it's just willsomeone.com. I have to look up the website. Okay. But he's actually trying to build a tool, a system, an online software that can be used by nonprofits or by companies or individual people. But it's all about your net trust score, this idea of that when, let's say I asked John to do something, and then John, when you deliver on the thing, then you actually get, points for follow through on the thing. Yeah. It's about follow through and accountability. But then people doing things, let's say you would put a task into Will Someone, and then whoever from your team or your community that knows how to do that task, that's their strength or their skill, right? That then they can volunteer. So kind of like that circle of life.
I like that. Yeah. That actually, that's an evolution. It sounds even better because it sounds like not only are you being held accountable, but you can put things that you're up to.
Yes, and then other people can volunteer. Right.
That's awesome. So it's funny. I actually know Chris from one of the earliest before like kind of things like even YouTube became big and stuff like that. I met Chris like at a social media camp. And so, yeah, it's funny. I actually know him, and I didn't know that he was working on that though. So that's awesome.
His new business. So I'll look for the link and I'll share it in the chat. Looks like
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, Kay just shared something.
Some kind of a link in the.
Yeah, I'll look at that and see.
Super.
And so speaking of Kay too, do you want to jump on the video here and say hi, since I know you're up in North Dakota, and say hi to everyone?
Is there anything that you want to tell, like kind of new people, like people who are just getting introduced, like literally not even 24 hours old, in terms of guiding us on our way? And I'm just wondering if there's anything that you want to share with me in regards to what I should know, kind of as I kind of go on this journey with you guys.
Well, sure. I guess I'll answer that since you already know John and you guys are friends already. That I'll give my 2 cents there. Okay. That I think really, watching the TED Talk is how a lot of people have discovered Scott and have discovered Live Your Legend. And definitely. That we actually have a community using a software platform called Mighty Bell. And if you go on Live Your Legend on the local page about local communities, you can sign up there, and that's where you get into Mighty Bell. And Mighty Bell is, we also have a couple Facebook groups, but I mentioned Mighty Bell because what we're really trying to do is bring the conversations into the Mighty Bell platform where each of us have a profile, just a short little thing, but we can at least have what we're about, what we're up to, a link to our, if we have a blog or a website. And then we can there's actual circles in Mighty Bell. So like wherever you live. So for example, there's a circle for Los Angeles or a circle for Atlanta. So you can connect with local groups and you can participate at the global level in the global conversation with just anybody in Mighty Bell. And so there's some Facebook groups, but then there's that Mighty Bell platform too. And then there's all these free resources that Scott and the Live Your Legend team created, around, if you saw some of those, like the 20,
waiting in my inbox, I suppose.
Right, exactly. And I'll admit, I've been, following Scott and part of the community for 5 years, but I don't even remember when I first looked at some of those tools and, myself. So I'm going back and looking at them. So I think that's a really good starting place, is looking at those tools and then asking questions or just reaching out to people in the community who seem interested in the same kinds of things that you might want to collaborate with.
That sounds good. All right. So I'll definitely plug in that way. It sounds like a place to start.
Yeah. Good. Great.
So,
and so we have a new person.
I don't know if you want me to give up the seat or I'd like to let someone else come in. So
sure. Okay. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah. Thanks, Sam.
Okay.
All right. Next up in the hot seat.
Hi, Kate. Welcome.
Hi. It's nice to be with a bunch of people. It's kind of tough to be with a bunch of people who believe the way that I do up here in North Dakota. It's kind of an unusual situation. I live in a small town, and it's very rural out here, and there are great people and people with good ideas, but I've run into a lot of people who don't seem to have the dreams. It's kind of bizarre to me because I kind of grew up here, and I always felt that people had dreams when they were coming out to the prairie. My grandparents settled this town and everything. And then I get back up here and it's difficult to connect with people who have the same feelings as I do. So this is great. This is absolutely terrific. And I haven't given up on finding some way to do that locally. But it's just a bigger challenge, So.
Yeah, that's the thing that I talk about different times with creative entrepreneurs is that, it's one thing to, have goals and to kind of have these different visions of what you're doing, but really like without the, the emotional support, stuff like that, the kind of just basically more than that. And that's the thing that like I really feel that Scott really embodied was that understanding that need, that like, in other words, it's great to have goals, but you need to have that emotional support, that like that it's more than that it's more than just simply people who say go for it and stuff like that. It's like if you don't feel that real support backing that up and stuff, it's really it gets hard. I mean, it's no matter what like kind of they say about like kind of the entrepreneur's journey and stuff, it may have this kind of nice picture of like kind of the training montage and then kind of cue the the big battle and then victory and stuff. It's a lot more than that, because it's a lot of ups and downs, and really like the only way that you get through that is to feel like you have people who have your back and stuff. And I feel like that's, to me personally, like one of the main things that like Scott really kind of embodied. So it's welcome. So definitely I feel your pain.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's I got into this through, I did the Connect with Anyone course back in fall of 2013, and I have kept in touch with at least one of the people from our little mastermind group that we did through Facebook, and it's been phenomenal to watch her pursue her interests and keep in touch with the community that way. But again, because I'm kind of isolated, it was hard to keep my momentum going, except that I did take steps to get out of some of the drudge jobs that I've been doing and to follow my, as you can tell by my little icon, I'm into coffee. I'm a huge coffee person. And I've just learned the industry a little bit. I took a job managing a place a year ago, which was a big step for me. And I'm currently working on getting my own mobile unit up and running, hopefully by spring. That'll be statewide. I want to take it all the way around, because I love North Dakota and I love coffee, and I want to connect the two. And it's just amazing to see that stuff happen. But I need that mastermind, that like you said, accountability, and people that are in my corner, not just on Facebook, but people talking face to face, even if it's like this. This is terrific. So I just wanted to pop in here like that and say hello and thank you so much for doing this.
Well, we're so glad.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're so glad you joined. And when you said mobile unit, so do you mean like a food truck, but more like a coffee truck in your case?
Yeah, it'll be either a truck or a trailer. We haven't decided yet, but I actually do have 98% certain that I have an angel investor.
Wow.
So, yeah, it'll be great. It'll be good.
I can picture that, Kate. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing that come to reality and stuff. So awesome.
Yeah, and I just encourage you to please keep sharing with us, even if it's in the Facebook accountability group for now, or, or in Mighty Bell. Are you in Mighty Bell, Kay? Have you gotten in there? Yeah.
No, I've never heard of that before. So
okay, I think I'll
check it out.
Yeah, and what I can do too is send like a follow-up note to everybody that joined today about Mighty Bell and how to get connected with it. But certainly if you you know how to get in touch with me. But again, those of us who are virtual and don't have a local community, I think we should all band together, in some interim way while our Live Your Legend leadership team is getting resettled, and figuring out what our future official path is going to be, that we have their absolute support to do whatever we want to do in the interim, to stay connected for those of us that
I'm going to go. My phone is ringing.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks for stopping by, Kay.
Bye.
Welcome, Michael.
I'm really sad. It's
about, like,
right here in Sweden.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, what would you like to share about your legend and the things you're doing?
Yeah, I'm a member of 5 different networks that all resemblance Live Your Legend here in Sweden. We do. I've met so many amazing people just the last 2 years, thanks for Facebook and social media. But I'm struggling to keep people turning up on different events I'm doing, because and some we have a great community called the Social Media Club. We meet once a month, and there are about regularly 100 people who meet, and it's a really warm and welcoming community. So I want to have more meetups and more especially more the Live Your Legend type kind, where we really connect and boost each other's and hold each other accountable.
So what do you feel is like kind of the big difference between like a Live Your Legend meetup and like say like a social media meetup? What do you feel like kind of is not
the sharing of your personal development and helping each other out. So I have a small community here on the west coast of Sweden that we usually share on our projects and try to help each other. So it's a really great feeling, but I want to take it further. So
yeah, so I think that's something I definitely have seen too. That like there's definitely more of a sense of camaraderie in Live Your Legend that like kind of where. I think sometimes with social media, it's just all about like kind of like the tools and like kind of or different ways of like kind of doing business with it and stuff. Whereas Live Your Legend to me, like different folks that just simply want to help each other and like kind of point each other to different directions that something else that maybe the other person doesn't know about. So it's just I don't know, just certain kind of energy that's a little bit different for some reason and stuff. So I think I understand what you mean. So, like, what would help you though to connect with other folks? Do you think? Like, I mean, it seems like you said like kind of there's a sense that you want to grow that more. So, is there like kind of things that like you feel would help with that? Like, kind of, and what would that possibly be?
Yeah. Maybe I should travel, meet other countries, and meet other communities, and see what they're doing, and we can learn from each other what works and doesn't work, and how we can understand what how to make it stronger and better, and tell people we can learn from each other. I'm myself working on a concept I call Level Up. Now I'm writing a book called Level Up in that area of how do you help people become a better version of themselves.
That's really
sometimes
go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say sometimes for me, like I find that like you connect with people like some places that you wouldn't expect and stuff. That's like kind of as for me, it's been like kind of where just even this like kind of where because of the things that happen with Scott, stuff like that, and connect with some different folks like Stephanie through the tribute group and stuff. It was just a group that kind of evolved, and I think like sometimes you just never know, like kind of just by simply being, even if it's online somewhere else that you normally wouldn't be, that you find like like minds and stuff like that. I think that's personally one way that. Another thing is like kind of putting it out there, like kind of by. I do a lot of writing and blogging and stuff like that, and I've had folks who have contacted me that just simply by what they've read that I wrote about, that then we found that we had a lot in common, and so that's been kind of like another way, just simply like kind of sharing like kind of my message and the things that like kind of really motivate me and stuff like that, has really kind of attracted the different people that like get what I'm trying to do and share similar values and stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I've been blogging about it for 2 years now, and I'm starting a podcast in Swedish here about it too. So I think this fall things are falling into place, and things are really starting happening here in Sweden too. So I feel really excited now about this fall. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Michael.
Yeah, so
thanks.
I wanted to say, John, I wanted to say too, I was teasing Michael. Michael and I were messaging yesterday, and I was teasing him that he should have a podcast in English.
Yeah,
So, but he said that his blog is in English. So for all of us who don't know Swedish, we can read your blog. Yeah, that's really exciting about your book, though. I didn't know that you were working on that. So that's great. Cool.
Awesome.
And
nice meeting you all. I have to go to bed now. So.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks so much for staying up to join us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, really.
Bye.
Bye. We'll have to get him to teach us some Swedish of how to say at least hello and goodbye. So Greta, great to see you. Greta and I have also been chatting virtually through Facebook. So
awesome.
Welcome. Want to come to the group and share a little bit about what lights you up?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to jump in real quick and say hello to everyone. As Stephanie mentioned, we've been chatting We were chatting actually before this meeting got set up, and so it was really exciting to see that it was coming together. Quickly, just a little bit about my background. I actually connected with Live Your Legend about 1.5 years ago, shortly after I decided to leave my job that I loved in San Francisco and move to Chile with very little plans other than surfing and climbing mountains and reinventing a bit to fuse some of my other passions with the work that I also love. And so since I was living in San Francisco, I ended up connecting directly with Scott. Funny enough, we had met years before and I hadn't even recognized him when I saw the TED Talk. So it was a really small world moment when we saw each other again. We're like, oh, hey. But anyway, I was able to go to several of the local meetups in San Francisco before I left San Francisco. And I loved just being able to talk to other people and hear what they were working on. And particularly because the work that I do is quite unique and kind of behind closed doors. I am a strategic consultant in ethical supply chain. So I work with companies dealing with human rights and environmental impact issues in factories and farms around the world. And so there's a lot of knowledge that I have just from all my experiences all over the world that I love to share with entrepreneurs and with people who are starting companies, particularly because there's so many kind of really easy things that they can use that, you know, they wouldn't be able to afford to pay the companies that I worked for my consulting fee. And I love just working or meeting people who are starting things like that. So some of that is kind of my motivation of always wanting to be able to talk to people and find out what they're working on. And I've also, you know, left my job and done crazy things. I thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail 8 years ago after quitting a very successful job living in Asia. So when it comes to risk, I love to talk to other people too about kind of going back into that space and drawing strength from it. And so, yeah, I was really just, now I live in a very remote mountain town in southern Chile at the base of the volcano, and there's not a whole huge community. It's a very small town. And I'm working on some new projects. And so it was kind of like, oh, this would be a great time and moment because there's a lot of activity and a lot of movement. And I find that when I'm in motion, things stay in motion. So that was part of me wanting to reach out and see what other streams I can also contribute to, as well as bounce ideas off. I love just finding other thought partners and yeah, I tend to progress with my own projects, even if I'm just talking about them or talking with other people about them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I really like having a sounding board.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that mastermind group, you know, idea comes into play. Yeah.
Yeah.
John, you were saying, I kind of cut you off. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just saying that's really incredible. Just like kind of the things that you've done in such a, you know, short amount of time. I mean, it's like something that like people dream about, like kind of that they can achieve just, you know, like kind of with many years and stuff like that. So what would you say though, like kind of is been like something that's kind of helped you on, you know, like that path and stuff? What kind of things have really moved you in that direction and kind of helped you along the way? Or
yeah, for me, the first thing that I always tell people whenever people ask me, because I have so many random life stories that everyone always is like, wait, what? I grew up on an organic farm. My first business was raising hedgehogs. I sold hedgehogs so I could buy my first horse, like really random stuff. And the first thing that I always say is, first of all, I'm not special at all. All I do is tend to, if I decide to do something, I do it. And I have a practice now of when I feel like I'm getting too comfortable in a situation and I'm starting to kind of imagine something that's really scary, I lean into it. So for ever since I've been kind of making these really random, bold moves, it's always about kind of going back into the path that I've already gone down before and remembering what strength I drew from the experience previously. So every time I've done one of these crazy things that you're like, wait, what? It's always been with the intention of a very broad intention, but not too micromanaging in terms of the hows. So even the line of work that I do now, I got into because previously I used to be a manufacturing manager. So I was in factories all over China, and I was seeing things that I knew I couldn't do business that way. But I didn't know the path forward. And so that's why I decided to through hike the Appalachian Trail, is because I didn't have the answer if I stayed in the industry. So I decided to take a walk in the woods. And I gave myself space in that process to say, you know what, I'm not going to decide what I'm going to do after this, because I'm going to be a different person. My intention of that whole walk, 5 months hiking, was to shift my perspective. I didn't need to direct how it was going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen. And it did. And that's what brought me into this other line of work. And so that was the same thing when I decided to, sell the big stuff and move to Chile, and then kind of go back into that reassurance that no matter what you do, you've gathered all these tools your whole life. You're gathering tools. Like no matter what you do, you're always gathering tools, and therefore you can always do something, so even if it's temporary, you can get through to the next stage, to this bigger picture, no matter what you do or where you go. And so for me, that's always been kind of my centering, is always going back and saying, oh, well, you've done crazy stuff before, and look where it's brought you, exactly where you're supposed to be. Whether or not it was hard, it's okay. That's okay. It should be lean into the discomfort. I love that. That's kind of I know that I'm in a growth period if I'm really uncomfortable. But I don't think that I'm special at all. And that's what I like to tell people, because people say, like, you're doing something that I could never do. And I'm like, that's not true. You don't have to do what I'm doing, but whatever that crazy idea is that you think of, you could do it. You just have to decide to do it. I just decide to do my crazy ideas.
Yeah, it's funny because that's often like kind of what folks say, that like kind of that really is the most useful to other people, is like simply like kind of showing them something that like comes naturally to them. Like it's something that like I've seen that over and over again, that like where the biggest benefit is from that, like kind of something that like you said, just comes second nature to you, and yet like I mean it's I can't kind of count the number of times that like I've seen that really benefit other people, just simply what you just shared in terms of your story, stuff like that. The other thing I've kind of found that like really resonated with me is what you said about like kind of being open, and like I feel like it's a muscle that like kind of as an entrepreneur you have to really develop, is this kind of like knowing when to be open and then when to kind of like narrow down, not so much to be closed, but to close down, to like focus and like kind of buckle down to what it is that, like you said, that you got to lean into and stuff. Yeah. So finding, like developing that muscle is really something that I haven't heard anyone talk about to where it's like kind of something you have to develop, like kind of something that like, it's not something that comes natural, because we tend to do one or the other unconsciously, and developing that conscious, to recognize when is the right time to kind of like be open to possibilities, and when is the time to like buckle down, like kind of, that's the real kind of trick, I guess, or like the thing to kind of really, the real skill that has to be, you have to kind of develop, I feel.
Yeah, and nurture, totally. Because and that's kind of what I've been moving into, more of that space, just for my personal pursuits, because now I'm taking my work and my own, I'm doing independent consulting, but my intention is to do much bigger work that has a much bigger impact beyond just being a consultant. And in doing that, it's this really delicate balance of dreaming really big, but also staying in the present and keeping hold of what I know that I'm capable of, and not getting attached to an expectation, but being very clear on my intention and kind of balancing them. And I'm naturally one of those people that just, from a very young age, I learned that if you work really hard, then You can have what you can make stuff happen. And as I've gotten older, I've had to learn much more of, well, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter, but it's also about that balance of being open enough that you can let the right things come to you, but you've got to know when to react, and you've got to know when to dig in, like exactly what you're saying. And yeah, it's constantly that consciousness of, okay, so how do I maintain this energy and movement, but also stay open so that I can receive while I'm also giving and doing. So yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely a conversation that, I think I definitely would like to have more of like kind of, what are the cues, what are the ways to kind of improve on that skill and stuff of being open and focusing and stuff.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, I personally have to actually jump on another call. I know it sounds kind of funny, stuff like that. But I think, like I definitely would love to kind of, continue that and possibly make that a topic of another conversation and stuff.
Yeah.
That maybe that's something that, like, if other people feel inspired to kind of to talk about that more, like kind of, ways that we deal with that, or ways to kind of, work on that, stuff like that. I feel like is a whole conversation itself.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to participate and contribute, because I've also developed a practice that helps me. So far, amazing stuff happening.
I would love to hear. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a great topic for another blab, just getting together, and maybe we can just create, like in the Facebook group or in Mighty Belt, create a list of topics that people are interested in talking about, and maybe have like a weekly call where we just come together and then record, and then we can share the link, the recording with others who can't participate. And we can just alternate the time of the meeting each time to bring in people from different time zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So John, if you have to drop, I can kind of close up here and kind of round us out. Yeah.
That'd be great. Definitely appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, John, so much for organizing this for all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for showing up. It's really all right.
Bye. Yeah. For those of you who are still with us, Greta, like you, I used to be a full-time consultant for 6 years, where I traveled. I worked, with some federal government projects and was on the road constantly. And then I had another corporate job for 8.5 years, and literally lived my life by the hour, like what John was saying. It was like every hour was another conference call, so this is actually a luxury to not have a hard stop at the top of the hour. But Greta, thank you so much for, joining us today and sharing some of your insights. It sounds, I see there's already like 88 props here. I think people, and I've seen some comments here in the chat that I think what you're talking about is really resonating with a lot of people. And I think one of the things that can be so encouraging is when people see what's possible, and
to see it's flesh and blood,
right? Like, hey, she's doing,
and you're totally normal,
right? Like
you're not like, I'm not untouchable. Who's up there? Like,
you're just like leaning into the things. You're taking risks, and you're using your skills and your tools that you've built over the years. Yeah. And that's so exciting. Well, so it is now the top of the hour. And so I just wanted to take a moment to thank, as John said, to really thank everyone who joined us today. And for those of you who are willing to put your faces up on the camera and say hi to everyone. So Greta, too, what time is it for you in Chile?
It's 9. It's early. People don't even eat dinner here until 11. I'm still getting used to that a year in, but
yeah. So where I am in Kauai, it's only 2 p.m. in the afternoon here.
Oh wow, so, it's early.
Yeah. It's still hence the sun outside for me. But for all of you who are here, please do put something in the chat section over here on the chat if there's any specific questions that you have that any of us can answer, especially if there's some people here who are new to the Live Your Legend community. We want to certainly share resources with you all. And I would just encourage you, if you haven't looked at it yet, just come to liveyourlegend.net and you can just put in your email address and you'll get a whole ton of free resources from Scott and the Live Your Legend team, all about helping you find your passion. And that's actually what my personal coaching practice is all about, is helping people discover their strengths and their passions, and then figuring out the practical path of how do you actually follow those passions, you know? So Greta, I love what you're saying about leaning in, you know, that's such a big thing. So another thing I'm really curious about, you can find me on Facebook, Stephanie Rogers. Again, you can find me through Live Your Legend. But we're really curious to know what topics you all would like to talk about on future Blab sessions. And also, if there's a certain time of day when you think more people could participate, you know, like I said, we want to kind of alternate, because I know we had Michael from Sweden and it was the middle of the night for him. So I think our next Blab, we're going to try to make it at a time that's more friendly for our European counterparts and friends. But anyway, we welcome any suggestions. This was our first Live Your Legend virtual community meeting that we had. And we're just so glad to have you all here.
And thank you, Stephanie, for pulling this together too with John.
Well,
so,
thanks,
I'll
Greta.
dip off.
Yeah, well, thank you to you too, for you and Samuel, for the prayer circle. I just wanted to say for those of you on the call here that, Greta was the partner in crime for getting that set up over the weekend. And I know that meant a lot to a lot of people. So
yeah, it was a good space to share some positive energy. Put it to a good place.
And I think we need all the positive energy we can get in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, good. Well, thank you so much to everyone. And with that, we'll